Welcome friends, welcome to Login to Bio. Today we will discuss about the sinus headache. All of you heard about the word sinus. So what actually the sinus is? Is it a disease or anything else? What is the treatment procedure? What is the different surgery techniques involved to cure in this disease? And why it is called a secondary headache? To know all of these things, kindly watch the full video.
So from the beginning, I am saying the word the sinus. This is sinus headache, sinus, and so what is sinus? We have to know first the meaning of the word sinus. So here it is written that the sinus is a cavity or passage in any organ or tissue. It can be caused by destruction of tissue. Simple thing is that it is the cavity in any organ or mainly only in bone tissue here like this, and there is a passage, not only a simple hole or cavity hole, not only a hole, it is a passage, okay, which is present in any organ or any tissue, mainly in the bone. So this is sinus, okay. So sinus is a cavity or passage formed in any organ or mainly in bony tissue formed by the destruction of tissue. So the question comes that the where in the body, in our body, where these sinuses are located. So sinuses are located in all over the body. Where first comes the paranasal sinuses. It means the sinuses that are present near the nasal cavity. Okay. And then comes the dural sinuses, dural venous sinuses. It means it is present in the skull, in the dura mater of the skull. Okay. Then comes the arterial sinuses, and then the organ specific sinuses. What are the organ specific sinuses? That is the renal sinus, coronary sinus. Renal sinus means it is in the kidney. Coronary sinus means it is in the heart. Okay, so we have seen that there are different types of sinuses present throughout the body, but for our study purpose in this sinus headache, we have to know detail about the paranasal sinuses because it plays a major role in this sinus headache. Okay, so what is paranasal sinuses? From the name, you can easily identify that the nasal word is here. It means nose is connected with this type of sinuses. So the sinuses which are present near the nasal cavity, these are paranasal sinuses. Simple. The sinuses which are present near the nasal cavity is simply are the paranasal sinuses. So look, another thing is that sinuses, not a single sinus, more than one sinus. Okay. So before we start that what are the different sinus, we have to know what are the different bones that are located surrounding the nasal cavity. From this picture we can't identify the bones because here only the nasal here only the sinuses are distinguished. Okay, so to know the what are the cranial or facial bones which are present surrounding the nasal cavity, we have to cut a sagittal section. So here it is the sagittal section, and you can easily see from these all bones only and only here is the cavity. Okay, what is the bone? It is the frontal bone, and cavity present in the frontal bone, it means the passage or sinus present within the frontal bone. So it is named as frontal sinus. Okay, very simple. And then another type of cavity can be seen here. And what is the bone here? Is the sphenoid bone. Is the sphenoid bone. So the name of the sinus should be the sphenoid sinus. Okay. the name of the sinus should be the sphenoid sinus. And apart from these two, no other bone here has sinus or cavity. Look, no other bone has cavity. So we have known from this picture that two bones have cavities and which are located nearby the nearby the nasal cavity. Okay, but there are again two types of apart from the previous two, uh, again two types of bones also are located which have sinuses. What are they? One is sphenoid, which is located in the middle region of the skull. That means from the starting side or from the front side or from the back side, it can't be seen. It is present in the middle region. Okay, and this is the if we cut a longitudinal section of the skull, then this is the sphenoid bone, which looks like a butterfly. It's also called a butterfly bone. And another bone which is present near this region, it is called the ethmoid bone. What it is called is the ethmoid bone. So we have learned about the four types of bones. First, we have learned about the frontal bone. Then we have learned in the previous picture, you can see, look in the previous picture, is the frontal bone, is the sphenoid bone, two, and rest of the two are, this is the sphenoid and this is the ethmoid. Okay, so and another is the maxilla. Another is the maxilla, which can't be seen in this type of pictures. And so I want to explain with this picture. It is the egg maxilla which is present in our chins. Okay, which is present in our chins. So there are four types of bones: frontal bone, ethmoid bone, sphenoid bone, and maxilla bone. So the sinuses within these bones should be called according to their bones. So there are four types of sinuses, that is the frontal bone, sphenoid bone, ethmoid bone, and maxilla bone. Frontal sinus, sphenoid sinus, ethmoid sinus, and maxilla sinus. Okay, clear? Then, if you have any doubt with this 2D picture, I have put a 3D animation for those who has some confusion regarding these sinuses. Look at the video here. Here it is look, this is the frontal sinus. Okay, these are the maxillary sinus. I have already told you these are present in the chins. This is the ethmoid sinuses, and this one is the sphenoid sinus. Okay, clear about the different types of sinuses? I have told you about the four types of sinuses: frontal, ethmoid, maxillary, and sphenoid. Okay, let's know about the function of the paranasal sinuses. Why this type of cavity are present in the bones? There are three functions of these sinuses. The first one is that it allows the wetting, it allows the loss of wetting of the skull. It means it decreases the weight of the skull without decreasing the size of the skull. Clear? Next is it serve as resonating chamber. What is it? If you go to a hollow room, okay, where there are no utensils or there are no things present in the room, and you speak something in that room, so the sound comes as an echo. You can examine this. So sound comes an echo because the room acts as a resonating chamber. Like the same way, paranasal sinuses are hollow chambers. I have already told you. So the air comes and flows around the within the sinuses and comes again with the voice, and then it creates a echo chamber or resonating chamber. It acts in this way as the resonating chamber. Look at this video. Here, the air flows within the cavities and comes in the nasal cavity and comes out with the voice, with our voice. So it acts as a resonating chamber, and we can easily know this, identify this when we have cold. Okay, then the intensity of the sound of our voice becomes changed. Okay, so that because the paranasal sinuses at that time are filled with mucus, that's why it can't act as resonating chamber then. So the intensity, the quality of the voice becomes changed during cold. Next is the next function is that the paranasal sinuses are lined with the mucous membrane, and we already know that what is the function of the mucous membrane. That mucous membrane has some goblet cells and some ciliary cells, and goblet cells release some mucus, and that mucus performs to moisten and cleans the inhaled air and cools down the temperature of the air. Why? Because it may happen that you are in a hot region. Okay, so the air should be high in temperature, but your lungs can't compensate that hot temperature of the air. So to cool down it, the mucus plays a major function. Okay, then and another is the cleans the inhaled air. It means within air, we already know that within air there are different types of or million types of microorganisms are present. The mucus, what the mucus does, it cleans the I mean the different types of microorganism attaches with the mucus, so it cannot go through the our body system, so it acts as a filter. Okay, it acts as a filter. So next comes the I have already told that the mucus chamber or mucus layer has some ciliary cell and has some goblet cell, and this goblet cell releases mucus, and this ciliary cell moves back and forth to drain the mucus. Okay. Next, what creates the problem? It is a good system to act as a resonating chamber, to lighten the weight of the skull. What creates problem here? Problem is that if any type of inflammation occur in the mucous membrane, where the mucous membrane is situated within the paranasal sinus. So in within one or more paranasal sinuses, if the mucous membrane is being inflamed, problem arises. Then what would be the problem? Is that, look in the picture, this is the healthy sinuses. Okay, and when the bacteria, virus or fungus attacks, the WBCs come and they fight with them and inflammation occurs. That means the redness and swelling of the tissue occurs. So here is the redness and swelling, you can see easily. So this condition is called as sinusitis, or more appropriately rhinosinusitis. Why? Because sinusitis means simply the inflammation of the sinuses, and rhinosinusitis means the inflammation of the mucous membrane of the sinuses as well as of the mucous membrane of the nasal cavity. Okay, so more appropriately it is the rhinosinusitis. So what occur if inflammation, what creates problem if inflammation occurs? Look here, if inflammation occurs, the passage from sinuses to the nasal cavity becomes blocked. If it becomes blocked, then the mucus that is present in the paranasal sinuses can't be easily drained into the nasal cavity. So it can't be easily drained out of our body. It becomes stagnant here, and it creates pressure, and so it creates pain, which results in headache. That is the main case here. We will learn this case step by step. Okay, so first of all, we have learned that if any type of inflammation occurs, inflammation of the mucous membrane of one or more paranasal sinuses occur, it is named as sinusitis, or more appropriately rhinosinusitis. Next, why the inflammation occur? What causes the paranasal and the mucous membrane of the paranasal sinuses become inflamed? It is the viral infection. There are some viruses, there are some culprits. Which are the viruses? It is the rhinovirus, influenza virus, adenovirus. These viruses actually, what these viruses actually do is the viruses actually, look, I have told you about this picture. Okay, so viruses, what actually viruses does, virus actually causes breakdown or damaging of the cilia of the ciliatory cells present in the mucous membrane. So what is the function of the cilia? Actually, cilia, I have already told you, cilia moves back and forth to the to easily so that the mucus can be easily drained out of our body through the nasal cavity. But if the cilia becomes damaged or becomes faulty, then it cannot move back and forth, so mucus cannot be easily drained. That is the case. We will know this through a video. Okay, look, in the video here the cilia moves back and forth, as I have already told, and the mucus easily drains out of the paranasal sinuses into the nasal cavity and out of the body ultimately. Okay, this is the normal procedure. But what will occur if the virus infection occurs is that, here look, the cilia becomes faulty, so that it can't be moved back and forth, so the mucus becomes stagnant, and it starts to deposit in that area. And when the mucus deposits layer by layer, then other different kinds of bacteria, virus and fungi comes, and they have seen that there are numerous type of foods that are available there, so they starting to grow there. And as the mucus starts depositing there, the hollow region, the connection between the paranasal sinus and the nasal cavity becomes blocked, and this mucus can't be easily drained, so mucus becomes stagnant within the paranasal sinus. It creates pressure and it creates a pain. That is the main case. Okay, so here it is the how inflammation occurs. Here the inflammation occurs after the bacterial or viral infection. So due to inflammation, that is the swelling of the tissue, the connection, you can look, the connection of the in between the paranasal sinus and the nasal cavity, as I have already told, the connection in between the paranasal sinus and the nasal cavity becomes blocked. So the mucus can't easily go to the nasal cavity and can't drain can't drain from the body. So it remains here, and it creates pressure and it creates pain that results in headache. Okay. Next, apart from the bacteria, apart from the viruses, there are some bacteria which can cause this type of infection. What are those bacteria? The Streptococcus pneumoniae, Haemophilus influenzae, Moraxella. These type of bacteria can cause, mainly Streptococcus and Haemophilus influenzae. They actually cause this type of sinusitis. Okay, but in the majority of the case, it is seen that viruses mainly attacks the sinuses. Okay, bacteria comes next, and some of the funguses can also cause this type of sinusitis. But what I have said, the main leading role is played by the viruses. Okay. Then next comes another problem, that is the nasal polyp. What are the nasal polyps? I have already told that if this is a nasal region, paranasal region, and here is the sinus is present, and with this sinus, the mucous membrane is present. So, if the mucous membrane becomes swelled or any region, because it becomes bud like or tumor like, becomes outgrowth. So what will occur? We can see this type of grape like outgrowth there. So what creates problem if this grape and if this type of grapes remain present in the paranasal sinuses? The mucus present there can't be easily drained. Same thing comes here. The mucus present within the sinuses can't easily come to the nasal cavity. So they remain in the paranasal sinuses and they creates pressure. There it results in pain, which results in headache. Ultimately, the all goes to the same result. Okay. So this is the nasal polyp, that is the outgrowth or tumor-like outgrowth or grape-like outgrowth of the mucous membrane that is present in the paranasal sinuses. Next comes is the deviated nasal septum. We already know, all of you know that, I mean, no, not only know, I have already seen the numerous people, and all have the septum, all have the normal septum, but many of the person has some of the problem in the septum. They have some deviated septum. That means the septum, that is the middle point, is somewhat deviated to a certain side. It may be to the left side or it may be to the right side, but um, it doesn't matter that in which side it is deviated. But if it is deviated in a certain side, then what will occur? The mucus can't be drained easily. The same thing again comes. The mucus can't be easily drained. That is, the mucus blockage occurs and mucus remains in the paranasal sinuses, and then it creates pressure, it creates pain, which results in sinus headache. Okay. Next comes the exposure to allergens. This is heavy important, because if any person has any type of allergy towards dust, towards smoke, then what will occur? The histamines are released, okay, which causes inflammation. And why and what the inflammation cause is the swelling and redness of the mucous membrane, and then the connection between the paranasal sinus and the nasal cavity becomes blocked, so the mucus can't be easily drained. So the it creates pressure and it creates pain. Same thing. Okay. Next comes the biofilm. What are the biofilms? If biofilms are a membrane-like thick film of bacteria that is or that occurs on the mucous membrane of the sinuses. So how this occurs? Look, it is the biofilm that occurs in the sinuses. If this occurs, it cannot be treated with normal antibiotics, because in antibiotic can only treat the active viruses, but not the kill viruses or kill. I mean active bacteria, but not the kill bacteria. So, but in the in the biofilm, there are living as well as dead bacteria. So, antibiotic treatment can't easily can't easily remove this type of biofilm. For to get rid of this type of biofilm, you have to do a surgery. Okay, this is the picture actually, how biofilm actually looks like. Next comes the immune system problem. How immune system problem makes a particular person more prone to this type of sinus headache. Look here, the main word written is the cystic fibrosis. If a person becomes diseased with cystic fibrosis, then he becomes more vulnerable. He becomes more vulnerable to this type of sinus headache. Why? To know that why he becomes more vulnerable to to sinus headache, you have to know about what is the cystic fibrosis. So cystic fibrosis, here it is written, cystic fibrosis is simply a autosomal recessive disease. Disease of what? Disease, it creates problem in the gene of cystic fibrosis transmembrane conductance regulator, that is CFTR channel. It is a ATP mediated channel that is present in the plasma membrane. So what it actually does, it actually allows chloride from inside to outside of the cell. Okay, so if it is if any kind of mutation occurs in the gene encoding this CFTR channel, then CFTR will not, two cases may be happened. CFTR may not be available, or faulty CFTR are available that cannot function easily. Okay, so if and both of these two results in that the chloride ion cannot come from the inside to outside. So what will happen? To know that what will happen, you have to know what is the function. I mean, why chloride ion comes from inside to outside of the body. So look at this video. This is the cystic fibrosis transmembrane conductance regulator channel. That is, it is a ATP mediated channel, not a pump. Okay, it is not a pump, it is a channel. So here it is. The chloride ions are chloride ions pass through the cell through this CFTR channel from the cell interior to the mucus, that is the outside of the cell. So you can see that from inside to out, if the chloride ions come from inside to outside the cell, then in the outside, the ion concentration becomes more. In the ion outside, this is the outside suppose condition here. This is the concentration of the ions are more concentrated here. So, as per the rule of the osmosis, what you will know, what we have already known, that the water movement will occur from less ion to more ion region, from less concentrated to more concentrated region. So, water will move from cell to mucus region. Okay, water will move from cell to mucus region. So mucus becomes a mucus becomes light. Mucus becomes light, so it can easily drain through the nasal cavity. This is the normal procedure and function of the CFTR channel in the mucous membrane of the nasal cavity and paranasal sinuses. Okay. Next comes the, if CF occurs, that means cystic fibrosis occurs. If cystic fibrosis occurs, then this channel becomes faulty. If the amount of the CFTR channel becomes down, or the CFTR channel becomes faulty. There are two types of mutation of the CFTR. If you the one is the phenylalanine 508, it means 508 number phenylalanine is deleted, that so that the number of the so that the ATP binding region of the CFTR channel cannot easily fold, so it cannot easily come to the plasma membrane. Okay, so the number of the CFTR channel becomes this, or it occurs in the 2/3 case of the cystic fibrosis, and rest of the 1/3 cases what will occur is the glycine 551 becomes changed to aspartate, becomes mutated to aspartate. So the CFTR channels are present, but the channels cannot work their normal function. So here it is, the look, the CFTR channels becomes less and also becomes faulty, so the chloride channels cannot come from the cell interior to the outside. So what will occur? Where from, in which region the ions are more concentrated? In the cell interior region. In the same, so according to the and also the epithelial sodium channels, that is ENaC, are hyperactivated due to this type of due to the cystic fibrosis. So uh, the chloride ions cannot come from cell interior to outside, plus the from the outside the sodium ion comes from the outside to inside. So in which region the ions are more concentrated? That is in the cell interior region. And already I have told you, according to the rule of the osmosis, that the water will move from less concentrated region to more concentrated region. So the water movement will occur from the outside to the inside of the, look, water movement will occur from outside to the inside of the cell. So the mucus becomes dehydrated. That is the main case here. Mucus becomes dehydrated, and if mucus becomes dehydrated, it becomes hard. It no longer be available as light or soft. It becomes hard. So if it becomes hard, it can't be easily drained through the nasal cavity. So it remain present in the paranasal sinus, and again the same case, that it creates pressure and it creates pain that results in sinus headache. Okay. Next, I have already told you what is the result. It is also already has I have told you that mucus cannot easily drain in the nasal cavity, so fluid pressure builds up and sinus headache may develop. Okay. So what are the classification of rhinosinusitis? Here it is a classification. Scientists classify this rhinosinusitis according to their duration of the headache. If the headache comes suddenly and it lasts for 4 weeks, less than 4 weeks, so it is told as acute rhinosinusitis. And if this, along with the character of the acute rhinosinusitis, it lasts for more than 4 weeks but less than 12 weeks, so then it will be told as subacute rhinosinusitis. If this type of headache remains more than 12 weeks or longer, then it will be termed as chronic rhinosinusitis. Okay. And then if it occurs in as a period of 7 days or more within an entire year, then it will be termed as recurrent acute rhinosinusitis. So this type of sinusitis and this type of classification is mainly based on the frequency and longevity of the headache. Okay. Next comes the symptoms of this sinus headache. The normal symptom, because if the paranasal sinuses becomes blocked, I have already told you, it creates pressure, mucus creates pressure and pain develops. So where the pain first starts? In the paranasal sinus regions, and then the pain spreads and along with the skull, so headache will occur. And apart from this sinus headache, there are some symptoms which can also be seen. There is the fever, stuffy nose. This is very important. This is the thick colored mucus discharge from the nose. This is unique to this sinus type of headache, and it separates mucus. It is different from the migraine headache. We can separate through this from the migraine headache. I will tell you in the next slide. Okay. So and a puffy face, swollen or puffy face. These type of symptoms can also occur along with the sinus headache. So why the mucus discharge becomes green colored, green or yellow colored? Why it is not white colored? So we already know that what is the composition of the mucus. Mucus contains 95% of water, and rest of the contains some ions, that is salts, some glycoproteins, some enzymes like lactoferrins, lysozymes, some immunoglobulins, and WBC cells. So what will occur when a bacterial or fungal attack occurs? The WBCs come and they fight with the foreign microorganisms that are harmful, and some of this party dead, some of this party dead. Okay. So in the dead neutrophil, within the RBCs in WBCs, dead neutrophils actually release MPO. Sorry, MPO, that is myeloperoxidase. This is an enzyme. For this enzyme, actually mucus becomes green in color. Okay, so neutrophils release MPO, and for this the mucus becomes green in color. Okay. Then comes the difference. I have already told you that difference between the sinus headache and a migraine. Many people becomes confused between sinus and a migraine. So what are the two differences that by which we can easily identify that it is a sinus headache or a migraine headache? First comes that in migraine the nasal discharge is clear. No green or yellow color will appear. But in case of sinus headache, the green or yellow colored nasal discharge will occur. Okay, it is mandatory. And then the migraine can cause nausea, sensitivity to light. I have already told you migraine with aura or migraine without aura. In case of migraine with aura, the senses are hampered radically. But migraine without aura, also the nausea, the vomiting, the blurred vision or dizziness also occur in case of migraine without aura. But this type of sense problems or vomiting or nausea doesn't occur in case of sinus headache. So these are two simple differences in between a sinus headache and a migraine. Next, how this sinus headache can be diagnosed. Doctor actually first, when you come to a doctor, go to a doctor and consult. Doctor actually asks you about your headache type. When it comes, the frequency, the longevity of the headache, and then he instructed you to do a MRI and a CT scan. Okay, to get rid of the causes that the tumor may have occurred in your brain. So to get rid of other causes, he instructed you to do a MRI and a CT scan, and then a nasal endoscopy. What is nasal endoscopy? It is a simple endoscope in front of which a camera is fitted, and to see the inner region of the nasal cavity and the paranasal sinuses, that if this region, any of the region becomes inflamed, or in any of the region mucus becomes stagnant or deposited too much. Okay. Next, treatments. There are some treatments that over-the-counter pain clears. that we already use this type of painkillers to treat also any kind of pain. It may be a migraine headache or different kinds of pain. We use acetaminophen for instant relief, ibuprofen, these are. Apart from that, there are some decongestants. Which are decongestants? Actually, decongestants are the some nasal spray. If we spray this decongestant in the nasal cavity, then it opens our nasal cavity. It opens our southern nasal and as well as the paranasal cavities. Okay, but you don't use these more than 3 days without consultation or without any prescription from the doctor, because the effect may be worse than from the previous. Okay, next comes the antihistamines. Histamines actually what actually releases, I mean, during inflammation, during the attack of the bacteria and viruses, the histamines are released by the WBCs. Okay, particular some WBCs, and this is if these histamines we can block these histamines from, so we can easily get rid of the sinusitis. So use some antihistamines, you can relieve from you from the sinus headache. Next comes the, if this any patient, if the any patient cannot respond easily, if any patient can't respond to this type of normal treatment, then for them different types of surgeries are available. So what are the surgeries? The first comes is the rhinoplasty. I have already told you that a deviated nasal septum can cause sinusitis. Okay, so if we make this deviated nasal septum as a normal septum by the surgery procedure, then the blockage can easily be get rid of. Okay, so the sinusitis, I mean the blockage of the mucus can easily drained through the normal cavities. Okay, so this is actually the surgery technique, and it is also known as nose job. And this is the picture, it is before the rhinoplasty, and this is the picture that is after the rhinoplasty. Okay, next comes is the balloon sinuplasty. Here it is written as a word, that is balloon. So it should be a balloon in this surgery. Use of balloon in this surgery. Yes, there is a balloon, and look, here is a catheter. This catheter actually inserted in the nasal cavity, and from this catheter a balloon will form, and this balloon separates the blocked paranasal sinus passage to so that the mucus which is present here becomes stagnant, can easily passes through this cavity. Look at the video. Wait, and look at the video. This is the nasal endoscope, and then there is the balloon forms, and then the mucus becomes drained easily. Okay, this technique is called balloon sinuplasty. Next comes the functional endoscopic sinus surgery. It is simply a surgery technique, which is abbreviated as FESS. Here, what will occur, but what will be done here is the removal of some ethmoid air cells or Heller cells, which blocks the release of the mucus from the paranasal sinuses. So remove these processes. Look, this is actually the video, and here it is. So look at the video. Look, the processes that actually blocks the connection between the paranasal sinuses and the nasal cavity are simply removed. So it is simply a surgery technique, and by removal, what will happen? The blocked sinuses can blocked mucus can easily be drained through the nasal cavity. Okay, so these are all about the different treatments and surgery techniques to cure the sinus headache. Next comes some natural ways. I have already told in the mucus video, in the migraine video, that there are some natural ways to relieve migraine. In the similar way, there are some natural ways to relieve sinus pain also. So what are the natural ways? The first one is use of humidity. If you inhale steam, so what will occur? The steam comes through the nasal cavity to the sinus cavities, and then in the paranasal sinuses, the hard mucus which cannot move becomes mixed with the water present within the steam, and then it liquefies and easily comes through our nasal cavity. Okay, so the paranasal sinus becomes cleared, so the patient can get easily rid of the headache. And then apart from the use of steam, you can drink plenty of fluid, plenty of water, avoid cold and dry air. Okay, next comes the salt water irrigation. What actually the salt water does? The water present within the salt functions in the similar way as the use of steam. Okay, and what actually the salt does? Salt actually kills the bacteria or different microorganisms that grows in the mucus that is stagnant in the paranasal sinuses. Okay, next come is the alternate hot and cold compress. You simply use a cloth, okay, with hot and cold water, I mean mixed with hot and cold water, and keep it on your forehead. It can give you relief from the sinus headache. Next, last but not the least, is use of spicy food, and mainly the chili. You can wonder that how chili help us to get rid of the sinus headache. Yes, chili actually, since when we eat chili, the celiac in the taste bud of our tongue actually senses the hot. So this sense through the nerve comes in our brain, and brain then allows the body to cool by sweating, by releasing mucus from the nose, and by water from the eye. Okay, so and then when it releases more mucus, more watery mucus, then the mucus that are stagnant become stagnant in the paranasal sinuses can easily be drained. Okay, and the paranasal sinuses becomes cleared. So in this way, chili actually helps to relieve this type of sinus to certain extent.
So what we have seen today, what is sinus, what is sinusitis, what is the treatment procedure, and different surgeries techniques. So in future, if anyone tells you that he has sinus, you can easily tell him that all human beings have sinus, but what actually you have is the sinusitis. So this is actually the headache series. If you have any confusion regarding headache, you can easily put it into the comment box.